Mirrors and Dreams, Book 2 of the Unseen Scar series, written and narrated by C.R. Saxon. Chapter 5. Everyone was breaking, save those already broken. Flying, beautiful carved case in hand, Oya considered how to help Herard. The young man wasn't the only healer treating Yu, but he was key. Bear may be the head healer on the islands, but Herard was who the other students looked to. If he breaks, how will that affect Yu? And my friend. Adding another person to her list. Do I have to worry about him? Fixing the holes properly, that'll alleviate the burden crushing him. Ultimately, accomplishing this one thing will help dozens of people and let Oya get back to her other tasks. If only she could have prevented the explosion, or distracted the three from their goal. Regrets weren't helpful, so Oya pushed them from her mind. She'd keep studying brains and figure out how to fix that hole. But there was also Zephyr. He'll be returning soon. I'll have to finish this before he does. It didn't make sense, but it didn't matter. People didn't make sense. All she could do was prevent and fix as much as possible. Tripping the latch on his closet window, she slipped inside. Invisible as a ninja, Oya skipped in. Filing case held secure. What happened? Delicate lips tugged downward. There he sat, head buried in stick-thin arms. The hole in his chest had eaten through him, and blood seeped down his back. Not feeling well? She asked in her native Ondo. His shoulders tensed, but eventually eased. Do I need to get John? No. She slid the ornately carved box, bumping gently against his arm. Play for me! I miss your amazing music. A bony hand swatted at something near his ear before resting on the table again. I'm sorry, Oya. I'm tired. Can you please leave me alone today? Then you'll play for me tomorrow? What did I miss while comforting Herard? I don't know. His deepening voice shook. Did you know? Blood oozed down his back faster. It was only a matter of time before the infection spread to the new opening. She didn't have to delve deep into his mind. It was right there on the surface. He knew. He finally heard what happened. I wasn't there to prevent it. When you lifted the beam, I saw her. She was under Yu. Ferdinan looked up at her, face hard, fists clenched. Why didn't you tell me? I would have held it longer. Oya firmly planted her bare feet and squared her shoulders. She was already gone. I don't believe that. That can't be right. I should have gotten her. How? Taking his arm, she pulled him into a hug. He struggled in vain for a moment, but lulling people to sleep was simple. Tell me what happened. Playing with memories was easy. She'd practiced regularly since arriving on the islands. None of the adults or students realized she wasn't in class. It kept Elu at bay when she didn't feel like tormenting him. She even removed herself from the fire incident for those she reached in time. All that practice would serve her now. I'll take it away, and you'll be better. Reaching into his mind. What happened here? All the wonder and bright bustle from before was gone. Worlds weren't spinning. Thoughts and ideas stopped moving. Two dark orbs stood supreme in the center of what was once a galactic theme park, both unified under a single thought. I killed her. Cold tickled her spine, but it couldn't stop her from taking the first orb. She died instantly. Elby's voice whispered into the eternity. I killed her. She died instantly. I killed her. I won't let this spiral out of control. She dug her nails deep into the orb, but it wouldn't break. Closing her eyes, she directed all her will into its destruction. But it held firm. That thought grew louder, screaming, agitating the wonder of his beaten mind. I won't let you exist. You won't destroy my friend. Bare feet planted solidly, Oya dug deeper into the orb and pulled. Every ounce of her soul and will and force of thought grabbed hold, securing her grip. Resistance gave way to tearing, and she flew back. One more. Only this time, it was her own voice, battling with those 3 words that'd kill her friend. She was already gone. This memory shouldn't have had time to form, but it had, and it was just as resistant as the first. Again she pulled with all her might. I killed her, cried more furiously with each tug. Then the tear came, and with it, silence. Panting, Oya sat staring at the 2 battered orbs she'd ripped from her friend's existence. She'd never tried manipulating his memories before. Why was this so different? She considered it, but another thought nagged at her. She needed to study his brain. Both he and Yu were tinkerers, but since the damaged part of the girl's brain wasn't like the other children she'd studied, and Elby's brain was too distressed to be useful. That made her laugh. Ferdinan was always in distress. You think that's enough to make me forget? For the first time in a long time, Oya was caught off guard. That voice sounded like Ferdinan, but corrupted. Who shares my friend's mind? A shadow materialized in front of her, sharpening into what could have been John, save the long curly hair and crystal blue eyes. How can I share with myself? This is what he'd look like if he were healthy? I can't call you Ferdinan. You aren't him. Not truly. Long fingers reached out and beckoned the mangled orbs to him. One sat in each hand as he snared at them, as expected from one who can invade my mind. What should you call me? Heretic would be appropriate. Placing her hands behind her back, Oya moved in slow circles while her friend's doppelganger followed suit. I need to get those back. Heretic, heretic. He snapped his fingers and the orbs vanished. Ah, how clever. But I'm no more an impostor than the Ferdinan you know. I haven't seen you here before. When did you arrive? I've been here for a while, though you're the first I've talked to directly. Haha, her laugh startled him. Excuse me? The twitching and mumbling, he's conversing with you. Failing to ignore me, he corrected, grinning a grin so warped it made Oya shudder. Why would he do that? He feels starved for attention, but too cautious to act on it. How did Oya use that to her advantage? We both know truths he doesn't want to face. I'm good at making people face things. Her own sly grin twitched as memories of a past life danced in her head. Your offering's tempting, but I'd rather he confesses it. Raising a hand to his waist, he bowed formally, then straightened with a smile. I think I have the perfect name. Please call me Emil. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have things to attend to. Oya stood in her friend's lab, inches from him. Dazed eyes rolled back in Ferdinand's head. Rushing, she grabbed him before he hit the ground and carried the growing boy over to the overstuffed sack in his closet. He shut me out of his mind. But how? What have you been keeping from me, dear friend? Unsure, Oya placed a blanket on him. Those dark clouds were gone, replaced by something else. Putting a hand on his head, she tried getting back in, but found herself up against Black Diamond. Hard, unforgiving, impenetrable. Interesting. She couldn't even access the lattice of his brain. Now what? If he found out, John would be coming soon. I failed them both. I just have to be better. Outside, the sun was bright and inviting. There she waited for the growing giant to come running up the hill. Perfect, wondrous, peaceful. These words didn't do justice to the palace gardens. Their beauty filled Zephyr. His imprisonment only made them more stunning. If he slept in the orchard another night, he'd get in trouble. But it'd be worth it. Training and tutoring were finished for the day, now to do as he pleased. A nice shady spot lured the prince. There he sat, enjoying a fruit pilfered from the kitchen. The firm flesh gave way with a snap into the soft, juicy meat. Tart overwhelmed the light sweetness of the unripened fruit. Exactly as he preferred it. Birds sang all around him. Fluffy white clouds softened the sharp blue sky. This is nice. Warm air teased with the sweet scent of spring flowers, and his eyelids grew heavy. The hand holding his half-eaten plum slid down, resting on his lap. I wonder... Pain shot through his ankle and up to his hip. A gasp and a thud followed. Rolling to his feet, Zephyr studied the situation, only to be embarrassed by how startled he was. A servant had tripped over him and was scrambling to pick up the scattered vegetables. Smiling, the prince helped her gather the fallen goods. I apologize. I should have found a better place to nap. Putting a squash into the basket made her flinch. Why is she trembling? Are you all right? Terrified eyes darted around as she backed away. Don't worry, they're fine. Hunching down next to her, their eyes met. Cold sweat broke out across Zephyr's golden skin. No, not here. Not here in the safety of his gardens. Why was he seeing this here? Her eyes were light brown with green flecks, but they looked exactly like Ferdinand's. First him, then me. Now a complete stranger? What's going on? Jumping up, he stepped back. Who are you? Trembling, the girl shrank away behind a tree. Who are you? When did you get here? Why do you look like that? I'm not making any sense. I'm scaring her, but... Red-hot fire burned inside him. Why? I don't need more selfish people. I don't need you here. I don't want... A boulder smashed into the prince's face, knocking him to the ground. By the time the stars dispersed, Rhetoric was kneeling by the servant girl. A red mark marred her cheek, and she cowered from Captain Rhetoric as well. What? Dark eyes glared at him, then glanced over to the palace. Attempting to speak rewarded the prince with a sharp pain through his jaw. What's going on? Why did he attack me? Zephyr tapped the side of his mouth before pointing at the captain with a pinky. Despite the silent protest, he did as he was told. Each step was jarring, but he moved swiftly, not stopping until he was safe behind a locked door. The comfortable couch did little to ease Zephyr's fuming, and his mind kept returning to those eyes. Blue, black, brown, it didn't matter. They were all the same. And they multiplied, surrounding him. Hundreds, thousands of selfish eyes glared at him from every direction. Stop! No more! He let out a gasp when impossibly strong hands grabbed him. The thousands crushing him vanished, but the look Rhetoric gave was one Zephyr had never seen before. It was somewhere between furious and disappointment. Why are you looking at me like that? The captain's hand framed his jaw before moving forward and stopping palm up, and that expression didn't waver, it burrowed deep, shaking Zephyr from side to side. Involuntarily, his knuckles rapped together. It hurts, but it's fine. Why did you hit me? Surprise knit the man's eyebrows together. There was hesitation before Rhetoric's hands moved. What are you talking about? Though his expressions were forceful, Rhetoric's hands pleaded out every gesture. I know my responsibilities and my authority, but you haven't answered my question. What are you talking about? Rhetoric grabbed his shirt and dragged him closer, one hand gesturing sharply. Shocked, frozen, Zephyr fought for words. What are you talking about? Releasing him, the captain combed a hand through non-existent shoulder-length hair before slamming a fist into his palm. Then he pointed at Zephyr. What? White-hot scored the prince's skin. I've never struck a servant. More passion filled Rhetoric's gestures. What? Those words, that accusation filled Zephyr with rage. His hands flew. She tripped. I helped her pick up what she dropped, but she cowered on her knees the entire time. If you saw her fall, you would have seen me help her, not... I'm not... Fury quickened the prince's breath, but Rhetoric matched him for intensity. Every gesture, expression were painfully sharp and impossible to ignore. I was helping her. Even though all she did was cower. Even though she's selfish. I helped her. I didn't hurt her. Ice filled his boiling veins. Lowering his head to his hands, Zephyr confessed. I yelled at her. That was wrong. The sudden change in the prince's demeanor surprised Rhetoric. When his hands moved next, they were calm, but still firm. Eyes down, Zephyr mumbled the only answer he had. Selfishness. I can't take any more. I'm sorry, Oya, I can't play right now. Normally he'd never be this rude to a girl, but... Screaming in class. I've never been so terrified. Please, I'm sorry. Don't worry about it. You don't know what happened, John yelled. He found out. Her hand was small and delicate against his shoulder. I've already taken care of it. How? John shook his head. You can't take care of this that quickly. I took care of it. I'll keep doing so as long as I can. Those crazed eyes winked at him. Don't mention Rura, and he'll be fine.